Hi, it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. Well, it is summertime here in the US, and maybe you're going to lots of parties. Maybe you're going to anniversary parties and graduations and class reunions and things like that, where you're feeling in a festive party mood. Well, if that spirit is transferring over to your junk journal assembly and writing, you might want to decorate a page or two of your junk journal in some of these festive little banners. They're sort of whimsical, they're super easy to make, and they're just a fun way to take a plain page or a not so plain page and just give it sort of a party air. They can go on a page. They can go on, what would otherwise be a plain pocket or something like that. They can go on a belly band. There's just any number of ways that you can use these little banners. And I've been playing around with how to make them, and I've messed up a few. And I'm just going to show you what I've learned and what some of my mistakes have been, and some things that I'm doing differently, because I plan to be using these a lot. They look great on a coffee dyed page. This is off of a magazine, something down here with a pocket and a tag. But doesn't that just dress it up? These are a little more contemporary, but even here on a plain brown paper with something else down here. What if it was on a page that you're inserting that's mostly text? There's just any number of ways that this can work. They look great on they would look great on a pocket. Something like that, just breaking up that text. This one's virtually the same, a little collaged pocket. You might want to put a few, a few other things with it. Anyway, let's just get started and make ourselves some little party banners. These things actually, they remind me of my daughter and son-in-law's wedding, which was 10 years ago, just this past week. And, oh my gosh, I sewed, of course, they were large ones that we hung, all over the party venue. And I made hundreds and hundreds of those triangles out of very festive, whimsical fabric. And it's fun. Every time I see a little bunting like that, I think of them. I have some scraps of fabric here. I'm going to share the mistakes that I made with you in just in playing around with this. So I hope that will be useful. But I have some scraps of fabric. Let me kind of share some of the mistakes. The first one that I did, this is the very first one I did. I ran across this when I was cleaning the other day. It's too small. The proportions are a little bit weird. It's cute, but I just needed to make my fabric scraps a little bit bigger. Also, I use Mod Podge on this, and it makes the fabric really, really crisp. So there was two things I did wrong with this one. Again, I used Mod Podge. For one thing, it was super messy. And then my fingers got sticky, and then it was hard to get the fabric to adhere to itself. So we're not going to be using Mod Podge. If you're a more expert Mod Podge user, that might be fine for you. But maybe you can tell here this fabric, and this is a double thickness of fabric, but it's as thick as paper, and it's crisp. And if that's what you're going for, Mod Podge is your friend. But I just liked a little bit of a softer, a little more tactile look. The other thing that I did in these here, that you can see, let me move this other fabric out, is when I was gluing them onto, this is embroidery floss that I used for the connecting twine. And I really left too big of a space there. And when I say too big, I mean it was so big that to put this across a journal page or something like that, to me, things were really spread out. I mean, I could go, top to bottom, but that really cuts into a lot to go across, or to, I mean, you could loop it down there. But I felt like there was a lot of wasted space here between the individual triangles of fabric. So that's when I went to this and put them almost next to each other with that embroidery floss showing just a little bit. Anyway, obviously your mileage may vary. So we're just going to practice making a few, and maybe this will give you some ideas. I went through my stash, and this is not my favorite fabric. In fact, let's use this red gingham instead. Red gingham is always fun. I got some little strips of that with a kit I picked up at an estate sale recently, so I've been using a fair amount of red gingham. What I did with this is I ironed just a little bit from each edge, and I'm going to be cutting triangles over that folded edge. So let's just kind of decide about how deep we want these triangles to be. I think I want them to go down, just so you can see them okay. I'm going to mark them down to about this row in the checks, and a gingham is sort of a self-measuring sort of proposition for us. So I'm just going to eyeball my going down to that depth in the fabric. This isn't cotton fabric, it's a little bit, it's almost a ribbon. So it doesn't cut quite as cleanly as it would if it were a cotton gingham. And let's do a couple more. I think I want to go a little bit wider. They don't all need to be the same size, which is a good thing because they won't be. And we like to do odd numbers, so I'll do 5. There we go, and let's do number 5. Yeah, Maureen and Michael's wedding, it was hot, so hot, unseasonably hot for the end of June in Portland. But oh, it was a happy, happy day, and those banners really made it even more so. Okay, so I'm just going to, so I want blue. I really would like to use the blue. However, I think I'm going to go with the red. I think that's going to fit the color scheme a little bit more. And I'm going to be quite generous with my embroidery floss that I put down, or that I cut off. Now, does this happen to you? If you unwind some floss or some twine that you have, put around some sort of a flat bobbin, do you get these, sort of kinks in it? Well, here's a little tip for you. Just take some not real sharp scissors, but just run that thread gently over the edge of the scissors, and that's just like you would if you were doing curling ribbon. And it's not going to take all of the kinks out, but it's going to take the majority of them out, so it won't look like it's just completely raw and off the bolt. It's just going to work those fibers down in that thread just a little bit. You don't want to do it too much because it is going to make it curl, but it'll straighten out again. And to me, that's a little bit of curl is better than having it be kinked. Let's see. I think I'm going to bring in, I feel like my mat is getting so gluey lately. So I'm just going to bring in that's why I have it here, but so I don't get it on the desk, but I'm going to bring in this plastic placemat. Now, all I'm going to do to make this, because I don't want to use Mod Podge. And I tried it with Fabri-Tac too, and the Fabri-Tac just really wasn't necessary. And again, it was really gluey. I'm just going to use my art glitter glue. Your Elmer's is probably also going to be fine. And I'm turning these upside down. That little flap that we had from that edge that we had turned over is going to provide the top part. It's going to provide the overlap of this this little banner. And I'm just putting a little bit of art glitter glue there. And I want to make certain that I get my embroidery floss nestled right in that glue, because that was another thing I learned when I was messing around with my prototypes, is that when I didn't get the glue right up in, into that, sort of the spine, it formed a casing, and the floss or the twine just, went all over the place. And so that wasn't great. Now I've got the wrong side facing up, but let me do this one. I'm going to try to move my fingers so might be a little bit easier for you to see. It is fiddly. Not as fiddly as it would be if I was doing the Mod Podge. Oh man, my fingers were a mess with that, and everything was sticking to each other. This might be better that way if I just sort of tap that. And then I'm going to leave just a little space between those two triangles. There we go. I wasn't certain if the if the art glitter glue would hold. But I really think it's, for these purposes, there's not going to be a whole lot of stress on them. You can go in and add a little bit more if you want. I think the Fabri-Tac or the 3-in-1 glue was sort of overkill. I say that, and I find I'm going back in to add some more. Use what makes sense to you. Even the humidity that's in your part of the world right now can affect how the glue is going to adhere. So let's go right down that little fold. And just for extras, I'll put a few dots down below. And there we go. I think that it'd be fun just to use things that are as bright as you have, but you know what color scheme you're using for your, and if it's something whimsical, if it's something vintagey, if it's something contemporary, you are going to choose the fabric that suits your style. There, that's probably better. I don't have to really load it up with glue, but I want to make certain I'm generous enough that it works. So let's right down that crease, and we'll fold over. That's even a little closer than I want. So while it's wet, I'll pull it apart. I hope my chubby fingers aren't completely obscuring your view here. Let's do this last one, and we're going to experiment with some different kinds of fabric and a different kind of a cut as well. And then we're even going to practice doing it not with fabric, but with paper, because you might not want fabric. I love the feel, the look, the almost flutteriness of the fabric here, but you could cut little pieces of ribbon. There we go. So there is our banner, our little festive bunting. There we go. Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. Let's put it on. on a pocket. I like it just like that. I like it across where it's sort of dipped down into the middle. That's super cute. I think I like it. I think I like it like that, maybe the best. Let's look at a page. Let's get that one that has print on it. Oh, here it is. Because I do think this gingham looks really nice on black and white. Oh, that looks super, super cute. Can't quite decide what I want to do with that yet, so I think I'm just going to leave it up here. And let's practice with something else. Let's try a different shape rather than the triangles. Let's do a different kind of shape. And I think I'm going to maybe make these a little bit bigger. This is a little 5-inch square, and again, I just folded down and ironed a little bit of a edge, a little bit of a fold over edge on this. This is this looks like this is like 1960s kitchen curtains or something like that. I think those are almost, I think I'm going to even this out so those are about the same depth. Because what I have in mind for this is making little rectangles instead of triangles. And how off did I get? Those are close enough. They don't have to be completely the same. And let's use a little bit of orange for that twine. And then I have somewhere I'm actually going to be using actual twine. So is that kinked up? It is. I think I want my not quite so sharp scissors. Just very lightly pull that. That's just a little hack for you. It seems to work on almost any kind of tying material. To get those kinks out. Where did I learn that? I didn't come up with that myself. I think it was May. I think it was May on May Made It. Yeah, so it still is going to want to come together a little bit, but it doesn't have that sharp kink. All right. This one, oh man, this is loud apron music, or apron fabric, isn't it? But it could be kind of cute. We'll see. Maybe it'll be hideous. I don't know. But I think in small doses and cut up, I think it might be just fine. There we go. Actually, you could almost make these kitchen curtains in a, maybe over a window envelope or something. I mean, once you start thinking about how easy it is to string these little snips of fabric together, it's kind of amazing. All right, so we're gonna go, somehow it seems easy going right to left for me here. My art glitter glue, no, this is 100% cotton, so it might glue a little more easily than that gingham that has a little bit of acetate to it. And getting that right up there into that fold. Another thing you could do, particularly it'd be great looking on a page, is if you lined up, you had a little, your little pieces like this, and you could just machine stitch right on your page, and that would be really, really cute, and have the machine stitching by itself be the visual, uniting element there. If you were doing a sewing journal or something like that, that would be super cute. I think when I adhere these down to the page, I'm probably just going to glue this top part again and let the bottom part be kind of flippy floppy. That gives sort of an energy, I think, to the page that is nice. All right, keep a pretty small distance between those two little banners. I'm going to do 5 again. This would be cute if you, were doing a journal, a segment about, a party, maybe it's a grandchild's birthday or something. And, if you had 5, what if it was Emily's birthday and you had a little banner going across the top and you stamped Emily's name. I do have a lovely niece named Emily who just had a birthday. Her sister Abby has a birthday coming up. Lots of July birthdays in our extended family. So it might be kind of tough to stamp names on banners if, the honoree's name was, Victoria Josephine or something like that. That's a lot of bunting, but I leave that to your discretion. Yeah, see, with this cotton, it doesn't need quite as much glue. I'm liking that, so you might have that in mind. And here's the 5th one. And we'll see how this looks. Again, a very kind of a garish fabric. I was glad I didn't have more than a couple of 5-inch squares of it in my stash. It was in some sort of a swap that I got from someone ages ago. But it looked festive. I kind of liked the idea of, oops, I left a little bit much there. Scoot that in a little bit more before that glue dries. There we go. You could put, little beads. If this was on a cover or something and you didn't mind having a little extra thickness, you could put little beads between each one. That actually looks kind of cute. That fabric is so, kind of, in your face that I didn't know how that would be. But let's look. Maybe even just 3 would have been fine here. But if you have, you can journal up here, you can journal down there. But what if you wanted to put a little something, a little extra embellishment up there in the corner? What if you wanted to put a little sun or a little, sun with something else behind it? That, and then you could journal down here. Oh, I think that could be really cute. And it's kitschy and it's kind of funny looking, but I think it's kind of adorable. And what if you made a little page tab or something out of one of your extra pieces? There's lots of ways that you can put this garish fabric into very charming use. Let's carry on and maybe steer away from the fabric and do the same thing with some paper. I had a strip when I was making these signature pages out of a grocery bag. I had one strip that was left over, and I thought, I'm going to stamp that, and I'm going to see how that would work for banners. So I'm just going to pretend that this is fabric, and I'm going to make just a narrow fold over. And maybe I will draw myself a line here as a cue for how deep I want my banner to be. And I'll just, because this is on the wrong side, let me just clip that way. And maybe I'll be a little more meticulous in how wide I make each piece. And maybe I'll make each one an inch wide. So I'm coming in off the half inch. I am much, much more a fan of eyeballing this. But if we want to take a little more look, you know, a little more precision, a little more thoughtfulness into how we're doing it. Let's see, I need to come in a little. Measuring can have its place. I am eyeballing my ending point there. I'm going to make that one a little bit deeper. Clearly, this is not Swiss watch precision here, folks. I'm coming in doing several passes. There we go. On this beautiful summer day, you can probably hear the circular saw going on. Circular saw being turned off and on. Our back doors are open. Maybe that's Dan getting the table saw out, some kind of saw. I can't seem to hit a good end point there. Maybe I should have done a different kind of measuring. Okay, here are my little paper banners. And I think I'm going to have to ink these. I just think that's what the occasion calls for. I have my distress ink right here in the drawer next to me. Sometimes I put it out on the desktop, and sometimes I just leave it in the open desk drawer and reach over and do my dabbing. There we go. There we go. It just kind of needs that. And this might be a little thick, or it could add just the interesting kind of dimension that we want. Let me see if this is this disproportionate? Nope, I think I'm fine with that. I also would be fine with embroidery floss had I chosen to do that, but I just wanted to try a little bit of a different kind of a look. Several of you have said you appreciate it if I try different kinds of paper or different types of supplies on the same sort of project, you know, just, you know, for variety's sake. So I will continue with that today. So it's the same approach, plenty of glue in there, trying to make certain that our twine is coated by at least some of the glue so that it stays in place. I glue right down that middle. I think no matter how you use these little banners, if they're on a junk journal page, no matter whether you make them out of fabric or, you know, any kind of style, I just feel like it's going to make you smile. And I want that for you. I think we all need to remind ourselves of positive things. And our journals can be a great place to reflect and have us remember some of those things, especially if we were at, you know, a fabulous graduation party or a class reunion or just one of those many things that happens during the summertime, a summer barbecue. kind of getting in and just working that twine into that fold with my fingernail. And you know, maybe it's just 3 little banners that you do. Maybe you make teeny tiny ones. And if so, I salute you, because my eyes and my and my fingers are not up to that sort of teeny tininess. But you know, the smaller you get, the cuter it's gonna be. So if you're able to do that, well done you. Oh, isn't that cute? What shall we, let's look at that on this blue page. That could be super cute, although that blue, I think, some of this, that fold was showing through, easy to get and trim. I feel like I would like maybe nautical bunting on it, because this is very clearly a C. Well, it even says C here. This is a magazine page. I think I might want something that was real, you know, more primary colors on this. So if I was doing like sort of a beachy kind of theme. I don't, not enough contrast there. That could be fine here for more of a vintagey vibe. This might be really nice again on a book page pocket as well. Really loop that down and put some other stuff around it. I think I would like it most on this antique kind of page. And would I put something down here? Probably. I might make a pocket out of, something like this, like a little pocket, and put a little tag in there that sort of tied the whole thing together. Maybe I would save, what did I do with the paper that I cut this stuff out of? Well, I don't know where that is. I just, the paper that I cut these things out, I seem to have completely set aside. So anyway, again, the great disappearing act. But I might take that leftover paper and put a little pocket down here and then put a tag in there, and then the whole page could come together. I appreciate those of you who totally understand when I completely lose things that were just sitting here. Anyway, you know that I had leftover paper from cutting that particular set. Anyway, enjoy these, guys. I hope that you are able to treat yourself to some wonderful get-togethers with your family and friends, and I hope you're able to transfer some of that celebratory spirit to your junk journaling and make some fun banners. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.